So what happens when you have the richest man in the world go head to head with the most powerful man in the world? Well, a shitstorm evolves. So today I want to go over one of the main points of Elon Musk has against Donald Trump and kind of where he's going with that. There's been a lot of commentators, they talk about that everybody seems to be pro-Trump, but I'm actually team Elon Musk on this one. I think that he has a lot to bring to the table. I think a lot of his initiatives have been discounted and taken off the table, where I think that one of the reasons that he got involved in the election and with Trump is to kind of move along the technology advances that he's bringing to the country. And I think that with this big, beautiful bill, it takes a lot of the incentive out of there. So I just want to start with this one tweet, and I think that kind of started it all. And it says, without me, this is a tweet from Elon Musk. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the states. And he said, such ingratitude. And I don't think he wants special favors. I think that he had a lot of encouragement and backing from the government, and a lot of his initiatives with SpaceX and clean energy. And he was it was a ball that was rolling. And I think he thought that when Trump got in, that the ball would keep rolling, not that he wanted special favors, but it would keep going in that direction. And I think a lot of what this big, beautiful bill has come along, and someone here, the big bullshit bill act. I think there's a lot of concern here. Because it's not kind of going ahead with his initiative. So like I said, my name is Delana. I want to go through 4 or 5 of the big things that Elon Musk is coming up against Trump with, and why I'm behind him 100%. Would love to hear your comments. Please like, subscribe, share. I have got many more, so I'd like to hear your guys' opinions too. Who's pro-Trump, who's pro-Elon Musk. But this is one of the, 4 of the big reasons why I am pro Elon Musk on this one. I did a big deep dive into this, and that's where I've come out team Elon Musk. So the big beautiful bill, or the one big bullshit bill act, it's going to cut Medicaid $625 billion, SNAP, which is a supplemental nutrition program, which I'm surprised that he's cutting here with RFK Jr. I thought there was going to be more of a push towards a healthier USA, but they're cutting SNAP by $300 billion, student aid $351 billion. I think they're tripling the budget for ICE, which I think everybody is 100% for. Let's keep all the immigration that's in the country legal, I think is the main premise there. Greenlight the sale of public lands, and ban state level AI regulations for 10 years. He is against this one, and I think that he sees the potential of it just becoming like a shitstorm of kind of too much power in the wrong hands. He was part of the OpenAI and started OpenAI, and he's actually in a lawsuit against that company because he really felt like the people on the top were kind of going the wrong direction, and they didn't want regulation. And essentially, he doesn't want over-regulation. He just wants proper regulations because it could get out of control in the wrong hands. And the way he describes it is kind of like if you're on a sports team, you're in a soccer game, you need reps on the field, but you don't need 100 reps on the field. You need a couple reps on the field to keep the game going and keep it all on the level. So here's a little clip from Elon Musk that I thought was really interesting. He kind of explains why he is for regulation.
Which you said 3 years ago was needed, and you said we need to be proactive on the regulation of AI rather than reactive. Have you changed your mind on that?
No, of course not. No, of course not. What I'm saying is that there should be some referees on the field, a few referees, but you shouldn't have a field jam-packed with referees such that you could not kick a ball in any direction without hitting one. So the fields that have been around for a long time, such as automotive, so aerospace, the sort of food and drug industries, are over-regulated. But the new fields, like artificial intelligence, are under-regulated. In fact, there is no regulator at all.
So there should be.
Do
you still think that?
Yes, I'm simply saying, which I think is just basic common sense, that you want to have at least you want to have a few referees in the field. You don't want to have an army of referees, but you want to have a few referees on any given field, in any given sport or even any given arena, industrial arena, to ensure that public safety is taken care of. But you don't have so there's a proper number of referees. Like I said, it's actually very easy to visualize this when compared to sports. If the whole field is packed with referees, that would look absurd. But if there were no referees at all, your game's not going to be as good.
Okay, so let's then talk about your...
So there he talks about the issues with the deregulation. And so Trump wants to deregulate the AI for the next 10 years. And I think he sees that, too much power in too much of the wrong hands. And a lot of the stuff that's going down with AI, with, the fake videos and the fake voices on people, and making like AI presentations where you think it's someone else. It's not. I think there's just it needs to go down with the AI, and he is essentially for the regulation within reason. And I think he's a smart enough guy in the tech world to see that, the potential. I think he can foresee the problems that it could cause without the regulation, more so than I think Trump could ever, because it's not really his domain. The tech is where Elon Musk is. That's his thing. And if he thinks that there needs regulation, I would go behind him 100% and saying it absolutely needs regulation. The next thing is the repeal clean energy programs. So the issue he has there, it's not that he wants more regulation, or not that he doesn't want the regulation. Of course he doesn't want to take it away, but he never asked for it. He said each of these industries should be able to kind of live on their own. But what he's saying is that they're taking away the tax incentive for EV vehicles, but they're not taking away the incentives for the oil and gas. So essentially, you could, if I drive my car to work and back every day, and I'm on my own business, or you're some kind of a business, you can use that gas mileage to take it off your taxes. So there's a tax incentive there. But if you had an electric vehicle, there would be no tax incentive. So essentially what he's saying is, like, there shouldn't be, either there's tax incentive for both, or there should be tax incentive for none. So it's kind of all or nothing. You can't take away one and then keep the tax incentive going on with the oil and gas. I agree with him 100%. It's just not fair. You can't just have, like, now there's more incentive to have gas. But there is, and also I truly believe there is a problem with the EV, and with, if there is less money going and tax incentives going towards electric vehicles, I find that there is not enough chargers throughout the country to keep this going if they don't have federal government support. We just drove to San Diego last week, and my son drove his Tesla, and they had to stop halfway from Phoenix to San Diego. And there was 10 cars in line at a supercharger. So there was, like, I don't know, 10 cars charging, and there's like 10 cars in line. And so when I drove my car gas, I made it there 2 hours before him, because he had to sit and wait in line to get the charger. So there needs to be a lot more incentive, I think, on the federal government side to keep these electric programs going, because if it just doesn't make any sense. If you're going to be caught kind of in the middle of California and waiting for hours to charge your car, it's going to deter a lot of people. I think they need to get a lot more charging stations if it ever is going to be like a clear alternative to gas. But at the long and short of it, I think Elon Musk is saying we need, to have tax incentives if you have an electric car, if you're going to have tax incentive for oil and gas as well. So, like I said, he's not asking for special favors. However, having incentive on the other side is he sees it as not fair, and I agree with him 100%. The next thing he's pretty upset about is, in here it says, with the bill, he calls it a disgusting abomination on X. He objected to removal of the EV tax credit. And Musk also wanted the Starlink satellites used in air traffic control systems. So that's one of his other issues. So he has Starlink. It's working, I think, in about 3 or 4 airports right now. They're using the Starlink. But where the federal government's coming is, like, we can't use, that can't be the sole kind of generator for it in the air traffic controls. They have to have other systems. And what Elon Musk is saying, if your systems are old and ancient, and which they are, the FAA's traffic control system is completely ancient and hasn't been updated in, I think, 30 plus years. So I think that he really thinks that this Starlink can really help upgrade the systems. And to take that away, I think that it's a detriment, because my son's training to be a commercial airline pilot, and I just find that he's with United, but they're just, every airline is trying to get more and more planes to get more and more business. But if the air traffic control systems are outdated, you're only going to be able to expand that industry so much before there's catastrophic, which we've seen lately. There's some catastrophic things going on, and planes near missing, a lot of airplane crashes in this past year. So I think that it has put a highlight on the air traffic control system, and Elon Musk is saying you need to update the system. He believes Starlink is the answer. However, I think that there needs to be, the federal government has to seriously look at how we are going to upgrade this. And I think Elon Musk is a smart guy. I think that if he's into the SpaceX and stuff, he must have a vision of where Starlink can help the air traffic control system. So I'm behind him 100% on that. And that brings me over to the NASA. Here. In light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. And Trump saying the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and millions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contrast. He's saying, I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Part of the problem is here too, is that Elon Musk has this Dragon spacecraft, and the Dragon spacecraft is the only aircraft that actually can go into the U.S. owns, that can go into that international space sphere. So the Dragon is the one that went up there and saved those other astronauts. But they're also saying that for defense, that if we don't have any spacecraft that can go into that international space sphere, how are we going to be able to use defense for other, like China is getting very close and is kind of right behind the U.S. in space travel. So if China is able to get into the international space sphere and they use it as a defense mechanism, if we don't have Dragon, or we don't have that one spacecraft that can go up there into that sphere, we have literally no defense. So I think it's hugely detrimental to not have the Dragon and the money go into the SpaceX, because other countries in the world are doing that research and going up into that international space sphere. And if we're not up there to see what's going on, essentially, like, what are you going to do? Also, like I said, it is the one aircraft that went into that space sphere, because Boeing had those other astronauts up there and they were literally abandoned. So Elon Musk was able to save those astronauts. And if you don't have any kind of spacecraft that can go up there, like, that it could completely destroy lives. There's just so many detrimental things. I heard someone on X pleaded with him not to do that. So he's not. I think that was kind of a knee-jerk reaction, but it shows how pissed off that he is, and literally how much control that he has, because who else does the U.S. have that's that smart, that can come up with these concepts and this kind of research and into the space world? And that brings me to my next point. So Trump drops NASA nominee Jared Isaacman, scrapping Elon Musk's pick. So essentially, one of Trump's head aides decided that he did not want Jared Isaacman was supposed to be the NASA administrator, and he was the nominee. And it was Elon Musk's pick. He wanted this guy. He's worked with this guy. This guy's a billionaire, a smart guy, has his own aircrafts. And Musk wanted him to head up the whole NASA. And Trump decided, no, we don't want that. We don't want that guy. So I think Elon Musk took it as a real diss. And I completely understand that, because he, that's his baby. And here he is with, this is Dragon, the spacecraft here. Like I said, the only one that can go into that international space area. So having his own pick, and it's kind of like if you have your own company and he's so immersed into this and it's such his vision. And when you have someone you pick that can kind of aligns with your vision, and then you have someone like Trump, who, again, I think he supported Trump in his endeavors. And I think that he expected Trump to support him with his choices and where he wanted to go, and for them to take away Isaacman was, I think, a huge shot at the knees. Just took him out at the knees. So I think he was really put off by that. And then there's one last thing that I want to talk about, and this is sort of gossipy. But so this is Stephen Miller, who is the head of like chief of staff at the White House, and then that is his wife, Katie Miller. And so Katie Miller was working at the White House. Again, he is still working at the White House, but then she left the White House and was working with Musk. But I heard that she's back. She had sent out a tweet the other day supporting her husband, but this had came up in Cut magazine, which I thought was very interesting. It says, wait, were Musk and the Millers a throuple? Sorry to put the image in your head, but the internet was briefly teeming with unsubstantiated and unconfirmed, and again, this is from the Cut magazine, rumors that Musk and the Millers were part of a consensual throuple that apparently scoured when Katie left her White House position and turned her X banner into a picture of a SpaceX rocket taking off into ether. Do what you will with that. So I thought that was very interesting that, you know, who knows what's going on there? I'm not going to touch that. I just thought it was very interesting and funny. But yeah, I'm 100% behind Elon Musk in this one. Those are some major issues. One, you know, if you're going to have tax cuts for gas and oil, you should have the tax cuts for the EV. Give the guy the bone to have to control the guy that he wants at NASA. Like, and Starlink, they have to start somewhere by upgrading these FAA air traffic control system. So if he has a vision with that, I think that they seriously have to look into that. And I really truly believe that if he wouldn't have won, Trump would not have won the election if it wasn't for Elon Musk. And I don't necessarily think that it was his support, like obviously through the money that he donated. But I think the biggest thing that Elon Musk did was when he bought X and made it open so people could find the truth. And that's what I appreciate about Elon Musk. I think I'm so thankful that he has, because it seems like, I think it's caused a whole shift in the news cycle. And I think that it's given room for like private commentators and people to talk about the truth and what's really out there, as opposed to the mainstream media controlling the narrative. So Elon Musk gave Trump that avenue to get the truth and his word out there, because the mainstream media was 100% against him. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. Love to know what you think about that. Are you team Trump or team Elon Musk? Me, I'm team Elon Musk. So please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you soon.